This is Max from Sacramento, and you are listening to Decal with the E.I.T.H.R podcast.
Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Decal here, hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast here in beautiful Northern California, state capital to be exact. I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who is turning into the episode number 49 to be exact. If you guys are on social media, you're more than welcome to follow us on the Twitters. The Instagram, the handle's going to be the same. It's the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R. So just make sure you go ahead and follow us there. If you have the Spreaker application, go ahead and create an account. And you can go ahead and chit-chat with me while I'm live here on the Spaces. On the E.I.T.H.R podcast. I was actually doing a Spaces earlier with a promoter I know for a while ago. I was trying to upload that to the episode, but for whatever reason, it didn't go. So we're going to go ahead and be live on this today. As I always like to do, I want to give a shout out to some of the people out there right now who are making it happen. I want to give a shout out to all the entrepreneurs who are literally, on their grind right now, man. They're trying to do as best they can in today's market. Gas prices and all that fun stuff, and it's kind of discouraging for a lot of people. So, trust me, it gets worse before it gets better. But when it gets better, it's going to be definitely worth it. So I just want to go ahead and make sure I'll give you guys a shout out for that. Now, I want to give a motivational, inspirational shout out or some suggestions to people. Listen, man, it's sometimes you just got to take a step back and just breathe a little bit. That's honestly the best thing you can do sometimes is literally nothing. Keep in mind your mental health, your emotional health. Is very crucial and it's very important. For a lot of my people out there, some of us who have, different type of anxieties that you got going on because of, there's too much bail and not enough month. You know what I mean? Take yourself out the equation, sit back, look at it from an out-of-body experience, and give yourself a plan. Remember, frustration is nothing more than lack of preparation. So, if you, and your partner can plan these things out, it would definitely be an easier transition for you to get whatever it is you're trying to do throughout the rest of the month. Halloween is coming up. Everyone knows candy and all that fun stuff. So, make sure you prepare for that. I don't know how people are going to go about it because of the whole COVID thing or whatnot, but make sure you set some time aside to decompress so you can go ahead and be able to take care of things that needs to get done in the near future. Like I said, Halloween's coming up, so you're going to get a lot of people bombarding in the stores for traffic, with the costumes and treats and decorations and all that fun stuff. So make sure, when you're in traffic, try to keep in mind that, we're literally creeping up on Thanksgiving and then Christmas. And we all know what happens the day after Thanksgiving and right before Christmas. So tis the holiday season. So I just want to kind of help you guys, with your mentality and your mental focus and all that fun stuff. Listen, one of the things I want to talk about today is old you versus new you. And this is something that I think a lot of people really pay much attention to. it's always the new you that gets tested. And I think that's because the new you is always trying to improve. And so the new you is trying to keep the old you from becoming the new you. And so you have to make sure that you constantly keep in mind whatever goal it is that you're trying to achieve, right? I said this before in a couple of different episodes. What I do is I personally try to kind of like have an out-of-body experience or out-of-body conversation with myself, where I see the version of me that I want to create, and I have a conversation with that version of me. And again, it's what do I need to do to make that version of me happen? And I can tell you right now, it is easier said than done, but it's extremely simple steps that one needs to do. And the first step is to do something. And remember, a body at rest stays at rest, and a body in motion stays in motion. And so one of the most frustrating parts is if your body is always at rest, getting that motivation, getting that inspiration to get back into motion. But you kind of got to ask yourself, is it worth it, right? And in many, many cases, it will be. You just have to get the motor going. And I know I spoke on this in the last episode, but it's one of those things where I feel like more people just need to hear it, and you can never hear enough encouragement to move forward in what it is that you're trying to do with what you want to accomplish, right? So earlier this morning, on my personal Facebook page, I had put this post, and this post is very, very inspiring, and it's very, very motivating, I feel, to people. And it goes something like this. I'll go ahead and find it for you guys. And if you can write this down, I want you to write this down. If you can recite this, I want to make sure you guys recite this. Okay? Because it's very powerful, I think. And I put, I may be a lot of things, but there's one thing you'll never hear about me. And that's credit from a hater, because they'll refuse to admit it was me who inspired them to do better. Sometimes you have to give yourself a pep talk, words of encouragement, right? Because there are people out there who keep their distance because they are afraid your sun will outshine their candle, right? And no matter what it is you do, for as many people are out there looking for you to encourage, there are a lot of people out there who are also discouraged by your tenacity, by your dedication, by your focus. There's a lot of folks who project onto you their insecurities and what it is that they are afraid of achieving because they don't have whatever it is that you got, and they just don't know how to pinpoint it, or they don't know how to give you credit for it. And so this is one of those topics where, folks would never give you the credit. You'll never receive your flowers, right? You probably heard the term, like, give them their flowers while they're here. That's why you must pick from your own garden, because not everyone's going to give you that flower you deserve. Not everyone's going to give you that bouquet that you deserve. So sometimes you got to go ahead and pick for yourself, right? So understand there are some people in today's world where the trend is basically to try to shit on somebody, to get blocked, to get into cyber confrontations with people, because making people upset is the new trophy on social media. Trolling people is the new way of exuding dominance for some people. And you honestly just got to sit back and say to yourself, man, these people are trying to knock me down because it's easier to pull a down weight than it is to lift someone way up. right? So they're comfortable. And I can say this from experience that once you block out that negativity and kind of just give yourself this self-belief of distancing yourself from what's bad for you, especially the environment you have, it's going to be a sacrifice. It's going to take a sacrifice, but it's going to be well worth it in the long run. Understand something. A lot of us, we are attached to our social medias for different reasons, right? We're attached because of family, friends. We're attached because of, we say business, but whose business? Your business or somebody else's business? And I've kind of mentioned this before, taking that 24-hour break of no social media whatsoever, it can make a big deal on the psyche. And that break is kind of like a refreshing break. And so maybe that's what some of you need to do to reestablish the new you, because you might be falling back into old habits, right? So understand you're not working this hard to become what you already were. That doesn't make any sense. So I feel the best thing that you can do is honestly just look yourself in the mirror and make a decision. And I can tell from personal experience, when you make a decision, that uneasy feeling, that anxiety, that anxiousness you feel is basically old habits. It's like muscle memory, wanting to go back and do what you've always done. And you might have to say out loud to yourself, hey, this is not what I'm trying to do anymore. I need to do this. And that uncomfortable feeling that you're going to have is that feeling of trying to break the mold, the old you of whatever habits you've got into or reestablished again, until you get back into the habits of where you need to be. Once that is done, you will see a change. It may not be a physical change, but it will be an emotional change. It'll be a psychological change. It would be a mental change. I feel different. When you do these things, you're going to see the world completely different than you did before, right? So think of it as emotional, psychological fat. And by putting your body back in movement, you're getting your habits back in shape. And the old adage is, it takes 3 weeks to create a bad habit. It takes 3 weeks to break one. So you have to give yourself at least 21 days minimum before you are just in routine. And it normally doesn't even take that long, to tell you the truth. The first week is the hardest because it's brand new. Even though you've done it before, you're reestablishing it again. So you got to go to bed at a certain time. Make sure that you don't get up in the middle of the night and, get into the old things you used to do and kind of rediscipline yourself. But once it becomes normal, you really wouldn't want to go back into that, right? Now, there's different type of routines for everybody, so pick whichever one works best for you. But that definitely will go ahead and make that happen. But you got to determine if you want to stay the old you or if you want to become the new you. That's a very, very important question. Only you can answer that. And once you answer that question, then you can determine, exactly where it is that you want to go after that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about real quick is your boy. Your boy Kanye. Listen. My man is on some interesting stuff lately. If you haven't heard, Ye has put out a clothing line that states White Lives Matter. which is caused a really, really big stir, like over the past week or two. Now, when the Black Lives Matter thing became an issue, people's first reaction was to counter that with all lives matter. And there's a lot of celebrities right now who are kind of scratching their heads because there are people who are taking the White Lives Matter shirts and seemingly, making a big deal and giving him praise for that, which is interesting because when the Black Lives Matter was a hot topic, nobody wanted to deal with that. Nobody wanted to touch it. But the White Lives Matter, people want to applaud him for his courage. Listen, my opinion is this. Do all lives matter? Yes. But everyone should understand, there's a difference between one group making a protest for and another group making a protest to troll. Right? When it comes to anything with POCs, throughout time, anything that has been encouraging for POCs have never been anti-white, right? Even pro-black movements were never anti-white. What they were is the empowerment and uplifting of people of color because of living conditions, pay scale, social injustices. This has been going on before I was born in the 40s, 50s, 60s, right? The Black Panthers, the infamous Black Panthers, people remember those. They had a counterpart called White Panthers. And some of you probably never heard of the White Panthers until now. But the White Panthers were the exact thing as the Black Panthers, but they were just predominantly white members who had the same goal as the Black Panthers did. Right? They worked hand in hand, side by side. So when slogans and terms like power to the people were being used, it was never a derogatory against any other social group. It was an empowerment for all people, basically against the machine, for people to have power against all who oppress anyone. Because if one group has a problem, then everyone should have a problem. So when the BLM came about, the message was to be, our lives matter just as much as your life. And a lot of this is being redundant, and a lot of this is being repetitive for something that you already know. The problem is when certain media outlets or certain corporate people get a hold of certain things, they saturate it. They bombard you with so much of it, you're tired of hearing it. And part of me thinks that is done intentionally. For if I drown you with it, you'll get so bothered by it, you'll get turned out from it. So you don't want to talk about it. And the moment it comes up, it causes and creates you to have a resentment towards it. But there's never been anything from POCs that have said our white people are in danger of or needs to be eradicated because of. It's always been, we need to come together and we need to rise. Even though White Lives Matter is an accurate statement, and it is true, two things. One, those same people who are saying all lives matter, when Black Lives Matter were being all over the place, those people are now supporting White Lives Matter. So it kind of dilutes the point of you in the beginning having a problem. Because if you're now supporting White Lives Matter, but you had an issue with Black Lives Matter, the operative word that pissed you off was black. And so now that you have your own shirt to throw in people's faces, to provoke and to troll, you're not even really doing the message. This is more of a shock value, antagonistic move. Second point to this, throughout history, whenever there has been any type of encouragement or uplifting for white people, predominantly it has always been to exclude white people and people of color. So, Black Power has never been against white people. Black Power is the empowerment of black people. We will rise. Brown Power. Brown pride. We're going to make it up the ghetto. We're going to make it up the slums. We're going to build something for the community. We're going to have power within our heritage. We're going to have pride in our culture. We're going to do something. White power typically has always been the superiority of whites over any and everybody else. So, it isn't until recent that, quote unquote, majority of white people feel threatened, that they are now becoming a minority, and they are now becoming the smaller percentage of people in the country. For the first time ever, they are now having the fear that they are going to be the smaller group in the countries that they've been 60% or more for the longest time. Now, one thing that kind of tickles me pink is when you do get folks who are supportive, white people, quote unquote, who are supportive of unity and they embrace and they call out racism and bigotry. They're called race traitors by the same people who claim not to be racist. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth while contradicting exactly what it is that you say you're standing for. I think what Kanye is trying to do, because he says that Black Lives Matter was a joke, and he did the White Lives Matter thing as a potential joke as well. I think in his mind, he's trying to prove no one really cares about anything unless it affects them directly. And once it affects them directly, then it becomes a concern. But if it doesn't affect you, or if it affects you indirectly, and you can avoid it, you're going to do that. That's part of the message I think is under there. But I've also said this before when it comes to relaying messages. Your intention and the perception may not always be in line with one another. And that's an issue when you're dealing with the masses of people. Because not everyone thinks the same. Not everyone's going to see it equally. Not everyone's going to be able to relay the same message as you would. And so I feel when he put that out there, either he was really legitimately trying to stir the pot and create some shit, or my man really had like this intention of such a far out abstract message that he didn't think about this first step right here. So it's kind of one of those scenarios with him. It's like, okay, man, I'm trying to figure out what it is that you are I'm trying to decode what you got going on here, but it's so damn hard because, listen, a person can be intelligent, but people are fucking stupid, right? Because a lot of us, we don't use sense and logic, especially when we're in a large group of people. We tend to go off of emotion and reaction. And that kind of gets everyone hyped up. They don't really think. They don't respond. They now just react. And that usually causes a huge backlash or a huge misstep in exactly what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So that's the thing with Kanye. I wish his mama was still here, because that woman knew her son better than anybody else. And I honestly truly feel that when he lost her, everything else went with her. Simple as that, right? But that's what I think with the White Lives Matter t-shirt. I know there's a lot of celebrities who aren't really with his message, and I believe the message that he's conveying is going to be mixed with the people who are going to support it, which are going to utilize and continue to use this as a way of a divisive method amongst Americans. So that's the problem. So if people are quick to be like, all lives matter, then this line of clothing should not even sell from the stores or from the website. It shouldn't. But we know how people are, right? I want to end you guys on this note. I saw this meme on a friend of mine's page, and it says, it is not what you gather, but what you scatter that tells what kind of life you have lived. Right? So it's not the things you collect, but it's the things that you leave behind. Right? Because none of this stuff you can take with you wherever it is that you decide to go, or wherever it is that you believe you're going to go. So can't take none of it with you. But what is it that you're leaving behind determines. Are you leaving behind good people? Are you leaving behind good memories? Are you leaving behind good ambition? Are you leaving behind what? Like what is that you got behind that people will remember you by and can pick up that baton? Very good question. So, listen, this is the end of the podcast, and I wanted to give a shout out to everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back Friday, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Follow on social media at the E.I.T.H.R, TheEITHR. If you want to see any of the previous episodes of the podcast, just go to YouTube, search for the parent company, the GNS Inc., and you'll see everything there. Please subscribe to that. Much appreciate that. And you can go ahead and leave comments there on any of the topics that we talked to or talked about. And you can go ahead and leave comments on the social media as well. I thank you guys very much, and I wish you guys a happy hump day. All right, y'all be good.
Most t-shirts are simply cool to look at and or look in. Well, so are ours. But ours also aim to send a message. They aim to put a name on obstacles that once stood in your way and aren't there anymore. Struggles that you turned into successes and crushed. You made it look easy. Shop at mile.today. Mile.today. www.mile.today. A GNS collection.
What up, though? This is La Cabrona Más Chingona from Kansas City, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with my boy, D-Cal.